Hi, yep, woo, hello. Listen, this is from A to B, late night version, TGA edition, brought to you by Osmo.com. Andrew, Ben, we're here. We're going to talk about golf last minute. What's changed for us, sort of who we're looking at, how things, how the world is. How are you doing, Ben?
Good. All good. Watching Yankee game, getting ready. NHL started tonight. I didn't play. I missed the 4 game slate, but hopefully we have a good overall sweat there for the community and ready to go tomorrow. Safeway open. I'm
Yeah,
actually pretty
man.
happy with it.
With the Safeway or with the preseason NHL?
No,
Post regular.
I'm happy with NHL because I didn't play, which probably would have been paying the rake. Happy with Safeway from what I've done. It's early in the season, clearly, but I feel pretty good about the lines.
Josh is winning a tournament right now. We need some hold action for him.
Absolutely, I'll donate a little of my run pure to him.
I got some. I played a little preseason NBA. That's always funny.
How's that going?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to tell because you don't know. I don't spend all day. That's not really my bag. The sort of Twitter research as much. So I have some plays. I have some guys I liked. From listening to Eddie and Adam and some other people. And it's sometimes it's Giannis just nuked in the second quarter. I have a lot of him. That could be really good. I don't know if he's playing in the second half. We'll see what happens. So could be good.
Yeah, I have no idea if there's a target score for preseason if guys play. Workload.
Yeah.
Haven't dove into that just yet. Saving that for next week maybe.
Yeah, more of a regular season NBA guy myself. I like playoff NBA as well.
Yeah,
Postseason NBA, postseason baseball. Get out of here. Why is that even? Why is that a thing?
I might make my return to baseball for these mini slates coming up. But anyway, all
Golf.
that. What did you make of it now that you've dug in a little more in terms of? Did you find lineups pretty easy to build? I thought it was pretty easy to build.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad at all. Um, I th- I think the big thing I found is that Patrick Cantlay is like Dustin Johnson at the FedEx here. I'm just jamming. I think there's that big of a talent discrepancy between him and everyone else. I don't necessarily think he's going to win, but I think he's pretty safe to top 10. So I'm just playing a boatload, and I just don't see a ton of distinction between a lot of the 8 and 9 and 7K dudes. So it's like you can play Cantlay and you can play one other 9K plus guy if you want, and then just mix and match with. It's a bunch of wild cards. I've been digging in mostly on the web stuff. I feel like since Carl got his internet privileges revoked, I spent
Had to
most of
take
my
up the
time doing
slack,
that.
carry the
Yeah.
torch. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you're weighing, the way the web, they have those 4 tournaments at the end that determines the additional 25 cards. Seems like you're weighing, guys who are coming in hot off of that.
I'm just looking at that really because the regular web events are terrible, but the last four web events are pretty legit tournaments. They're in between the JDC and the Puerto Rico Open, as far as the very bottom of the barrel kind of your Barracuda Championship kind of level of quality, and this is definitely better than that, but not a ton better. So I'm okay with guys that are coming in on screaming hot form from the web playoffs, just because it's hard to find that stuff. You have to go in. Most people have to go in and look individually at each tournament to do that. It's not on people's player cards. It's not on their cards on ESPN either. It's you got to really dig to find out what people did the last 4 weeks if it was on the web. So, guys that just sort of cruise through it, I'm okay with some of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I get that angle. It's going to be, I'll say this. There were a couple guys, Dominic Bazzelli comes immediately to my mind not that I liked him a lot, but I thought, I might take a flyer here. And
You
then
were talking about him yesterday, and I
yeah,
was like, dude.
yeah. And now I've looked at that. It will be tilting to know that I took the extra step to find out that I shouldn't play him to watch him play well here. I feel like there's a couple guys that I discovered were in horrible form coming off the web, and that will be punishing. But you know what? That's a process over results if that happens. still will be tilting.
Yeah. What you are referring to is that Dominic Bozelli is coming off of a string of 4 straight missed cuts on the freaking web.com tour. So that's really bad.
Yeah, no, it is. That's the kind. I wondered why he was the min, and now I know. It's because he's playing god awful.
Burns is another guy that looked like, oh wow, he's actually an okay player, and like he was on fire for a little bit this summer. Like really was crushing on the web, but he like withdrew 2 or 3 weeks ago and then missed the cut in the next one. So I don't know if maybe he could be hurt a little bit, but he was someone who sort of stood out as a value at first who I'm not really as into. That guy who's like I think he won the web.com money thing this year. He has not been as good lately. That was a little concerning to me. The other one was Roberto Castro, who I was excited about because he was a good PGA Tour player a couple of years ago. 2 years ago, he was a really bad PGA Tour player, which is why he was on the web this year. But 3 years ago, he was a pretty good PGA Tour player. He was winning a playoff event for a couple days at one point 3 years ago.
He almost won the Wells Fargo.
Yeah, he was like final pairing with DJ. That I remember being really tilted by that because I obviously had a ton of DJ because I really like him. That was before DJ became the 12K guy every week. And I was watching Roberto Castro and DJ play together. And like every single time, Castro, like their second shots, Castro would line up from 190, DJ would line up from 145, and they'd hit it both to 12 feet. It's like, God, why? But he's back, and I was sort of, he's a good player. I did play a fair amount of him 2 years ago when he stunk. But he was on fire on the web in like May, June, and he just hasn't played. He didn't play in any of the playoff events, but he cooled off significantly. I still don't hate it. He's like 6,600, so I'm going to play a little bit, but
it's a fine line, of course, because someone like him, he seems to be one of the best. You have to wonder about motivation. Like those guys don't need to play well in those playoff events. Like when you have your card already, it's not as pertinent, whereas some of these other guys are playing for their card there. 4 missed cuts is super concerning, but like a guy who maybe took his foot off the gas to an extent, I'm willing to say, you know what, the body of work speaks to it. Him in particular, though, if he's even remotely popular, which I think he will be.
I think Im's going to be the most popular Webby.
I think so, too, because you see his name. People like to play. I mean, we've talked about this time and time again. People like to jump on the shiny new toy. I still think I don't mind playing him. I'm not saying that. I still think a wait-and-see approach is my general observation with almost all of these unknown guys.
Because what would you say? What do you think the average person who wants to say, I want to see what the web guys did, or I want to see which of these web guys is any good? What's the first thing they look at?
I think they look at Google personally.
Right. And what is Google going to show you if you look for the web guys?
Yeah, that's how you're going to find.
It's going to show you the money list, and Im is at the top of it. So that's going to be the driver, I think.
It's going to show you that, and it's going to show you really vanilla articles from like, Golf Digest or, the Golf Channel that's like, here's 2 guys to look out for. And they pick Im because it's easy to write about. Like, guy smoked the web.com tour. That stuff does traffic in. And yeah, he's a good player, but the body of work, of course, on the PGA Tour is non-existent basically. So we'll see. Plenty of guys better talented than him have struggled early. It's a guessing game. So
wait, did he win it? Am I wrong?
No, he did. I'm certain about that.
Because I just Googled it. And now it's showing Denny McCarthy.
No, Denny McCarthy won.
Oh, this is the Tour Finals.
Yeah. So he's coming in with good form and
yeah. He smoked. He went like 1-3-5-9 or 1-13-5-9 over the last 4 weeks in reasonable fields. Like I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'm going to play a little bit of D McCarthy. He might be 2-3% owned because I think people, rightfully so, are like, why is this guy $9,700? But he stuck around and was T30ing a bunch of PGA Tour events went down to the web to finish because he wasn't, hadn't been around long enough to qualify for the real playoffs, went and just nuked the web playoffs. So he has been playing really well for, 3 months, and this is not a particularly hard event. I mean, I don't know that he's going to just I don't see him blowing the doors off of this place, but I could see him beating most of the people here sort of one-on-one. You know what I mean? Like the more expensive guys than that, would you be shocked if Snedeker or Phil or Ryan Moore just missed the damn cut? Not really. Cantlay is the only one I really feel super confident in. So I think McCarthy could come in 13th and be valuable enough to be on winning tournament lineups at 5%.
I know what you're saying. I think that's pretty valid. The one thing for me, it's I think some of those guys are going to play bad. There's just a lot of them. And I'm not sure that Denny McCarthy beats all of them. Now, if he's 2% owned or something,
that's what it sounds like. So
yeah, then you can get over with 12% and roll the dice. And there's such
to be honest with you, I'm playing him in a high stakes lineup, and I think he will be 1% owned.
There you go. I mean, it's a situation. I just feel like there's a giant hole between. I mean, obviously he plays bad, you're dead. But that's the same for any golfer. There's just with that price, there's a decent window that he actually plays pretty well and he doesn't get there still. Or one of the low-hanging fruits, like Grillo, just comes in 4th. And then, that's at the direct expense. But that's the chance you take.
Right. But if Dean McCarthy is 2% owned and Grillo is 25, in that specific 1v1 bet, I'm going to bet on D McCarthy there. I'm not going to make I'm not going to make 6 D McCarthy bets in a lineup. I'm not going to go.
But you don't need to.
Right. I feel like I can play plenty of chalk around that if I get him at 1%. I'm obviously doing that with Cantlay and with whatever. So
yeah, no, and that's what we try to talk about all the time is even though they're individual guys, it's still one team as a whole. If you have a bomb, if you take a stab on one of these web guys, you don't need to take any more unless you find a particular build, but you don't need 6 crazy guys. So take a couple and then pair guys that you think will do their job. So if you get your one crazy play right, you're already ahead. You don't need to be ahead 6 different times. That's just crazy.
Yep. The homie Spin wanted to know any Hughes or Burns. I sort of addressed the Burns thing. That said, I think he is maybe an interesting tournament play. I just don't know if he might show up a little bit ownership wise. I'm not sure if he's hurt, but man, he's had some crazy finishes where it's oh wow, this guy came in 3rd twice.
Yeah, I mean he's the guy who played with Tiger and that elevated him. I don't
coach.
I don't mind it. Your boy, what are you doing with the Mr. Hughes, the tour man?
Yeah, Tor Hughes. I don't know. I don't know. I personally just have a bad feeling about it. But I don't know. This place doesn't really strike me as his kind of spot.
It's me neither.
A bit of a field play, but
I don't think that. Not that the conditions, and what we're going to backtrack and talk a little about, not that there's big weather, but there's a couple of things that you certainly noticed, and I agree. Mac Hughes is, Andrew's talked about this. He found it the most polarizing splits between really easy where he excels and very difficult where he gets punished. This is not a difficult course, but I don't think the conditions for this course are setting up to be easier than usual. And for me, that's a guy I wasn't too interested in anyway. It bumps him down even further.
And it's not that easy of a course, I guess. It's a par 72, and they're not carving it up. They do a good, it's mediocre players. It's definitely an easier course, but I don't know. Mac also, he was fine at the Canadian Open. That was the jam spot for me this year, but he sucked at the Wyndham. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not
very good.
No, he's certainly not very good. And he's a guy that, I'm just letting other people chase. I don't think it burns you. That's the other thing. I mean, there's so many guys that you're not going to be able to get them all, and you just have to start organizing with, if I don't play this guy, how many times am I really going to be punished by 6% Mac Hughes going nuclear?
Yep. Ponta pointed out that D. McCarthy only won the finals because his Bay, Sang Moon Bay, sat out the last event.
Smart. Sang Moon.
Ponta, how much Sang Moon Bay this week?
I don't like him at all this week.
Yeah, I can't do that.
What's up, New York City Nation in chat? Hello. Probably riding high because the Yankees are doing some things.
What is it? What are Yankees?
People in this area, neck of the woods, are excited.
Aren't the Red Stockings going to be victorious, though?
Probably. I wouldn't know.
You're the baseball savant, dude. You played one time and almost banked.
Yeah, almost. One of those guys. But you had said, we were talking a little off air. Seems like Friday morning is going to be really cold for Northern California, and when golfing in the cold is not an ideal situation.
No, it looks chilly for this time of year there. I used to live not far from here or from there, and it is typically still hot this time of year, whereas it's still like in the 80s. It'll get warm. I mean, that's part of why wine grapes grow so well there, blah blah blah. But it does get cold at night in general, so it will take a little while. It's chilly in the morning, but it's like 50 on Friday morning, and that's not fun to golf in, from what I understand.
Yeah, from what people have said, it certainly shortened. The ball does not travel in that, and we've seen many tournaments, last year and all the time, where I'm like, wow, this is playing like murder. And then a couple hours go by and it warms up and then everything gets back to normal. The guys going out really early Friday morning, again, there's no weather that I see where I'm reworking things. But if I have a complete toss up, one of them's going out, say first group on Friday, I kind of roll the other way.
Yeah. By like 10:30 a.m., Pat Perez is taking off his Arizona Cardinals beanie. He's huffed a couple of cigs, and he's just drilling 8-foot putts left and right.
Ready to get after it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, what about you, man? What's changed? So yeah, weather. I don't think it's a huge thing, but I am slightly preferential to guys going tomorrow morning and Friday afternoon. Just because it's supposed to warm up by Friday afternoon. It's supposed to be pretty consistent temperature-wise all day tomorrow. And a little bit of drizzly. Like, it'll be wet out, wet-ish tomorrow morning, which is not a bad thing for people trying to hit putts. So.
No, I think this is, for me, just adding even more how important it is to be in the fairway. Because if these greens are not, if they're very receptive, if they're not as firm, if you're in the fairway with a shorter iron in your hand, these guys can just go complete flag hunting and control the spin and just really possibly set the table to go low.
Yeah, Webley's either, oh my God.
Yeah,
like he's missing the cut by 4 strokes or he's going to come in third. Like it's binary outcome for him this week.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree it's magnified. The way he plays, though, when you have such a deficiency at scrambling and you're a good iron player, you usually have pretty polarizing results because there's only a couple ways you can go. So we'll see. And yeah, I think on the whole, since this is the first tournament of the year, there's a lot of guys who, they had a disappointing year last year. They finished bad. Does the reset go into place? You do see guys get back into form off the layoff. Some guys really have problems. That's a delicate balance weighing that.
Any guys you are targeting that you think might be able to show back up?
So, Brendan Steele's a guy that I'm betting that he doesn't. Not that he's going to miss the cut, but this is a polarizing situation. He's the 2-time champ. He's playing horrible. I'm still staying away, even at that price. Don't have much, so I think I come in underweight. there, but there are certain guys, Henley maybe, even Bill Haas, guys who have been on the tour for a while that if you're banking on them getting some time away, maybe starting fresh, going to a different coast, different surface, that can alleviate a lot of the struggles. Guys who are leaking strokes with the putter all throughout the FedEx Cup playoffs. Now they move to POA. Not that that's a great surface, but it's certainly kind of a clean slate for everybody.
Except Scott Piercy.
There's no hope for him. It doesn't really matter the surface.
He's dust.
Yeah, he's terrible. He's like his irons are incredible, but they don't even make a dent. It's not even like, oh wow, this guy comes in 30th with great irons. He just misses the cut with great irons. It's pretty bad.
He was like consistently losing 4 or 5 strokes on the greens. Like that's gross and difficult to do.
It's really tough. And even a guy like that, as much as we say all that, a couple tournaments a year, even when he was bad, he holds it together and he's there, because when you can do something like
sometimes he's got Billy Ho to putt for him.
Yeah, that it does help if you have a teammate and you're at the Zurich. That's a good point. Good point. That is a cheap way to keep that card. Yeah, James Hahn. He's a Cowboy. He's another guy you could throw in that bucket of not really great for a while, long stretch last year. Cheap price, ownership will be non-existent. Chance for a hard reset, but I mentioned Adam Scott yesterday. I was banking on that, but then there's a guy like Bubba who there was obviously some circumstances there. Some guys do return, and he was a buy low candidate for a while this year.
Yep. Adam Scott and Bubba would both be 12-2 here. Maybe not. I bet Cantlay would still be more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if DK goes above 12K anymore.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
No, they don't.
Was DJ ever not even at like FedEx? He wasn't 12-2 or something.
11-9. Okay. I'm doing that off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure.
No, I'm sure they used to, because it used to be different. The Rory would be 13-4 sometimes, but you'd also have $4,800 Hudson.
I like that. It made it. Yeah. It put more guys in play, because there's a lot of guys where it's like, I would play this guy, but there's 4 other plays at the min that are just the same, if not better. So why would I do that if they're all the same ownership?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
What do you want?
I was gonna say, just for a broad stroke, are you taking any stabs with the guys that we really have nothing on? You sprinkling some of them in here and there?
How do you mean?
Like, the Webbies, basically, who have really no data, no history on the PGA Tour.
We've got some data. Yeah, I mean, I'm playing a few of them, not for not just randomly. I mean, I'm playing a few that are coming in playing really well. I have a little bit of D. McCarthy. I have a little bit of Adam Schenk, a little bit at Albertson, like not much, but a little bit. I'm playing some Sean Stephanie, who's like not a great player, but he's just been kind of cruising. I feel like he's someone I'm considering in cash. And I think that's great. I think that people will think that's crazy, but he's just been cruising along. These last 4 web events are not that dissimilar from like shitty PGA events, and this is a shitty PGA event, and he just kind of came in 20th at all of them. That kid Kramer Hickok, I sort of like.
I would like him a lot more if he was just a little cheaper. It's not even that you can't get to the price. He's just around a lot of golfers that I'm more familiar with. I think he's one of the better Webbies coming up, and I've seen him a little. I know a little about him. So, yeah, I don't mind that either, but the price is a little alarming.
Okay, but macro level, Does price matter to you at all this week? I found lineups so easy to build, it just really didn't matter to me like who I was buying. Granted, I'm I'm dead if guys in the $8,000 range win, but I kind of avoided most of them. But I found it to be like, well, I can kind of play whoever I want. I like a lot of guys in the that are 66, 6,700 too. I don't think those are crazy discounts or crazy different from some of the $7,500 guys.
You're right. Ultimately, I agree with that more than I disagree. I still did have some decisions where it wasn't tough to build, but I don't have many lineups where I left like thousands off the table or anything.
No.
Which I've heard that floated around here and there. I don't think we've talked. We don't subscribe to that theory unless it's a 30 man.
But this is not. It's less insane here, I think.
I get the logic behind it in a situation like this because you can pick a team, a quality team, and do that. It's still.
And we just don't know who a lot of these guys are. And a lot of them, because we don't really know a ton or people aren't willing to dig yet, they are there's a lot of guys that are going to be 1 or 2% owned that probably shouldn't be and certainly won't be in a couple of weeks. I mean, like, I'm not saying I know which ones are going to do well, but I have a pool of 12 or 15 dudes that it's like, hey, man, I bet 3-4 of these guys are going to be 15% owned guys in 2 weeks, and they're all 1% now. So I'm going to get over on all of them.
Yeah, that's kind of what you have to do. I mean, this is going to happen every year, and there's going to be a couple of guys who make legitimate splashes, and they're going to be more expensive and way more popular immediately.
Yeah.
It's just very hard to sift through. There's a fine line between taking a handful of them and then just taking too many stabs at too many players. I think the general consensus in a week like this is you want to open up your player pool a bit, and I get that. It's to an extreme is still a negative for me, though.
I've got 10 or 12 1%ers that I'm playing 10 to 15% of.
I wonder, I mean, and you didn't find that you're going to, I mean, you did just allude a little. You didn't find deads like to do that. You didn't sacrifice anywhere that's somewhat of an aggressive stand.
No, I don't. I mean, I'm not playing 3 of them in a single lineup. You know what I mean?
I get that. It just feels like, if you added, obviously your total ownership, you only have a finite amount that you would have to sacrifice something.
10, 12 dudes at 10, 12%, that's one of my 6 golfers in a lineup. You know what I mean?
No,
that's 110 or 120% of my total ownership. I get 600% ownership. I'm okay with that. I mean, I can only play 100% Patrick Cantlay, so I still have 380% of my ownership to deal with.
Good point. I didn't think about it like that. Yeah,
I don't know. Do you find yourself on? I know we can't talk quite as much about ownership as we have in the past or our own personal exposures, but like, are you finding yourself playing? Do you have a lot of dudes that you're playing 30, 40% of compared to because I found that less compelling than, at a major, I want 30, 35% of 9 dudes. So it's harder to spread yourself out.
Yeah, there's, I think, a condensed pool naturally, whereas this, you've talked about, there's just not that many guys that you can say, well, they're way behind the pack, unless you're horrendous. I still, even when I flatten, which I did this week, I still have a couple guys that pump up. I don't have really any aggressive stands where I'm in like the 80%, 70%. But I agree. I just, for pure 1%ers, sometimes I can end up quickly, but if you made it work, that's nice. I mean, it's always good to, if you can get over on more, it's just more chances. You only got to get one of them to break through, and you have a couple of bullets that are pretty unique.
Yes. Agree with that. Okay, we got a nice egregious list. This is a
Ooh.
good tournament for egregiousness. I wanted to ask you a personal egregiousness question though, because the guy that I'm considering, who I have a bit of a soft spot for in DFS, the dirtbag, but is one Grayson Hillbilly Murray
Oh, okay.
can play for you.
Uh, I don't have much right now. I don't think this is the best fit for him. Talent wise, keeps him in the conversation in these fields because despite what we may think of him, he's a good player, and if he gets back to form, he's not even a bargain. It's just a ridiculous misprice. So we'll see. I don't think anyone can really know where he's at injury wise, mentality wise. So for me, if it looks like he's, what do you think in ownership? You think he'll be? I would say not popular.
No, sub five, I would say pretty
That's what I
easily.
was thinking. Sub five. So maybe I come in, you know, over 5% and hope that I get a little piece in terms of leverage, but not a staple of my lineups in anything important.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have him in anything important, but I think I'm gonna play, 15-ish%. Like
Mhm.
I feel reasonably good about that. I mean, he looks like he's been awful, but he was probably hurt. It's just it's a weird. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, like we don't have our owners. We have two of the other ownership sites that I like to look at have him at 1% and 2%. So
I think it's
that's
pretty safe.
that's juicy enough to me
Yeah.
for me to go to try because the upside is there for him. Like you would not, no one would be shocked if he came out and came in third place this week. He's that good.
No, he's got that talent. It's just he also legitimately could be 6 over through 8 holes and withdraw. Like
Yep. No, I think that is the more likely outcome. And
same.
I'm probably lighting the 10 to 15% of my lineups that I put him in on fire. But especially in something like that I'm putting 150 lineups in that $6 tournament.
In something like that,
$300,000 prize pool, 100K of it goes to first. Like you got to do something crazy. So
yeah.
that's more what I'm talking about because I don't know the club twirl and the the 150, even the 555 it's just kind of gross. So like there aren't um the club twirl and the 153 max where I usually play quite a bit of. They're not like huge prize pools this week, so I am playing I've got my 3 in the 3 max, but I'm only playing like 20 in the club twirl at this point.
Mhm. Yeah, I have 30, not a ton.
And then I'm spraying in the $6, which means I can diversify a little bit. And Hillbilly is certainly a guy I'm willing to take a stab at because I don't really care if I lose 10 $6 lineups.
Yeah, that's a bigger conversation that we certainly want to explore long term is building for your tournament. Like I would build if I had 30, I have 30 lineups and I'm just running them all through because that's just what I do. But in a vacuum, I would make different lineups for a 300K with 100K up top versus 60,000 people than I would a club twirl, which is 10% to first of 100K and then 10% of that to 9. It's a much more balanced tournament. It's much less people. That's just a different mentality to do that because in the $6 tournament, if you come in 16th, you're probably going to be pretty angry, not excited. Whereas with a flatter structure, takes the sting out of almost really banking it.
Yeah.
I mean, those are glorified winner takes all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take it all. That's my goal, man. That's my plan.
that's
I
smart.
get there. Get that
That's
first
big.
place.
Everyone, including me, you complain about top heavy tournaments. It's not a big deal if you just win the first prize. It's actually a good thing.
It's pretty fun when they're top heavy when you win them.
You prefer winner take all in those formats.
Yeah, there have been a few that I've come out on top of that. It's like shit. If this was a winner take all, I'd have $1 million right now.
Got to get those. It's a damn shame.
Yeah, it really is. It's unfair. That said, let's get egregious. Our dear friend FK Coolers has given us a list of
Yes.
trash golfers that are totally in play this week because it's a trash tournament. James Hahn was brought up earlier. You went over it. I'm with you. I actually really like him quite a bit this week. You were buying as well?
I see the logic for it. The price is fine. The form does scare me.
What do you mean fine? It can't be any finer.
Yeah,
He's $3.
but
He's
he
mid
might
price.
be only worth $2. I'm not sure how good that guy. Like, he's someone who has, and call this a skill or call this fluky, has won, and I'm talking out of nowhere. Like when he won Wells Fargo, that was the same Roberto Castro tournament. He was about to get a real job. Like I remember that distinctly. He had missed, it was like 15 cuts in a row, and then he just won. So that's a guy that's proven that a long stretch can turn around like that. But who knows when that'll be.
But he's a reset guy that normally does much better this time of year. And yet this year in the summer when he normally sucks, he was pretty fine. Like he was still kind of cranking out some okay finishes, nothing special, nothing you'd want on a tournament winning team. I'm just saying, like, as far as form goes, like normally he's in much worse form, but when we're talking right now, and he starts to pick it back up this time of year. So I feel all right about it. This is where he likes to play. He likes the Poana grass.
Well, yeah, he's a Cali boy.
Let's not do that. But he plays better on these kind of courses. It doesn't matter where they're from.
No, it absolutely does. It really does. They grow up on the grass. Like, if you've only been to California twice, how are you going to know about POA?
Yeah, but does Charles Schwartzel count as like a Florida guy because he's lived there for the last 20 years?
I mean, he definitely prefers Bermuda. Like, that's a thing. I mean, if you're transplant, but guys move to those states specifically for that. And California is polarizing. Like the West Coast if you haven't played out there, I think that's important. I really do.
It's because, the one thing I would say that I think that's kind of a line of bullshit. No offense, but I'd like not. It's just I just don't think you start to play at a place for a while. I will say the one reason why a lot of these guys like Bermuda is because they all live in Florida because there's no tax, there's no state income tax. Like Tiger and Ricky live in Florida and they're from California. No one lives in Florida no one lives in California once they become a professional golfer.
But if you played at college in California, it helps. Guys live in Nevada, that's state free. Guys live in Texas, that's state free. Like they're 100%. No one lives in California anymore. But you see all the time the guys from the Carolinas, when they go to bent grass country, they struggle. And that's the thing. Bermuda is just way different. So
yeah, the CUDA is like a pretty strong corollary to this, and that it's actually probably the closest geographically golf course too, because that's in it's by Tahoe,
yeah,
which is 2.5 3 hours from Napa. Okay, James Hahn, California boy, we're in because he lives in California. Sam Saunders, who is I compared him to, what was that from? Oh, CJ Beathard. CJ Beathard is remember the cross sports comparison. CJ Beathard is the Sam Saunders of the NFL.
Why?
Because
I can't wait to hear this.
Well, I was watching the broadcast, and the guy was like, CJ Beathard's grandfather was a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Okay, that was the only out that you had.
This is literally the only one. Yeah.
Okay. Sam Saunders is perpetually a GPP dart throw. He's very polarizing. He always has upside. His miscut equity is gigantic. That's pretty much how I'd label him until further notice. He that's just the way he plays. He has no consistency to his game.
Good in the trash though. I like him, and I think he's another guy that might be 2% owned. I'm comfortable going 10 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
Your boy, 9th place finisher here last year, the Monsignor Brandon Harkins.
Brandon Harkins, he is my boy. He ran really pure. I no data needed. He ran really pure last year. It made his year seem a lot better than it was because he made the cut on the number a lot, a disproportionate amount. Maybe he plays better because he's got some seasoning now. Sub 7K talent. I think makes up for the fact that he's a little overrated. Going to be a pure ownership thing for me. Another one where it's hard to distinguish. It's not, I don't want to say cool, but like this is what you have to do in a jumbled thing. You have to look and say if they're all the same, who's going to be glaringly low owned so I can go over? Because if it's all toss ups, you'd rather take the discount in ownership. So that's how I feel about him.
Okay.
I don't know. I prefer Spawn. I mean, I think
I don't really do Harkins. I missed getting in on him early last year.
Mm-hmm.
Never really caught the buzz. He turned into bad chalk pretty fast. I don't know. I for whatever reason I'm not super into him. I mean, I just said why I wasn't super into him. Anyway, so I don't have a lot of Harkins. I do have a fair amount of interest in this next guy who also sucks. Matt Jones, Australia's own.
You low-key like this guy.
I've not played him in 3 years. I liked him a lot in 2015. I don't play this guy. I've brought him up that he was like a good player at one point a couple times, but I never play him.
So I don't have any Matt Jones, but I'll make a small case for him. Another one, he misses a ton of cuts, but you can look back at his results. When he makes the cut, you get paid off, and that's a nice bonus. It's great to have someone who grinds a little and comes in 40th all the time, but at the same time, in a large field tournament, you'd rather have a guy miss a cut 4 out of 5 times and give you a top 15 in the other, and just hope that you get it right.
You know what the last couple POA tournaments were, too? There's POA in New Jersey and like shit like that too, apparently. I don't know. I was looking at this earlier today.
I mean, there's a lot of things that are overseeded, like the POA bent mix. I don't know anything about that stuff. I just know that most guys who haven't seen POA, they don't like it and they struggle. But who the hell knows?
Anyway, the CUDA and the Travelers, both POA. 2 of the last 3 cuts he made. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I read on the internet, man.
Cromwell.
Yeah, that's what Northeast TPC River Highlands.
There you go.
He played well at the Travelers. He played well at the CUDA. Whatever. Not that matters. He played well at the CUDA, which I think is an actual corollary here. And then he just nuked the last 2 Web.com finals.
Yeah.
So I think he's fine. And he's another guy who he does pretty well. He's much better in
wheat fields.
Playing the direct. Yeah.
And I like Travelers as a comp, just for what it's worth. I see that.
Yeah. Does that mean you're buying JB?
No, because JB, what he does doesn't fit here. Regardless of the outcome, I don't adhere to that. That's where course history and course fit differ. Like
JB's weird thing, he was just bad this year, but twice he putted out of his goddamn mind.
Yeah.
So if he's gonna do that, yeah, we're screwed if you fade him. But he's not been a good player in a year and a half. So
yeah, I mean, he was on a Ryder Cup team not that long ago, and now the thought of that is ridiculous. If you want to make a bomber stack, and get aggressive with it, sure. But for me, it's not something I'm doing with less lineups than I normally have.
Yeah. It's too bad how far he's fallen. I legitimately had him as one of the 10, 12 best players in the world, when we started at FanVice.
And he's
2
not
years ago. Yeah. Certainly not. He stinks. Similar sort of skill set to JB, who I want to play because he's so cheap, but what do you think about Lahiri, the god Lahiri?
Definitely more into him. Although he does have a problem with spraying, it's negated somewhat at short courses. There's a misconception with him that because he hits it, he likes long. He benefits from not having to spray. It's like the Woodland thing and the Luke List thing.
Jimmy Walker. Yeah.
Jimmy Walker. There's certain guys like that. So, another Travelers little bump. So yeah, I have some Lahiri.
Yeah. I'm into it. Danny Lee, who I think I sort of dismissed out of hand yesterday, I looked a little closer. Shock and Ponto were talking him up. I trust those guys. I'm seeing a couple things. I don't have a ton, but I'm going to play a little bit of Danny Lee. You don't have to have an opinion on everybody, man. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't.
See, you don't care.
No, I don't. It's hard. And that's a good, not that we need to explore that, but that's a really important fact in life. Like, not everything needs to be a hot take. I try to not do that too, but like, there's a lot of times with NFL, it's like this or this, and it's like I don't know because I'm indifferent to both. Dan, that's kind of how I feel. If you wanted to go there, I see it. Not for me though.
That's a great setup because I have literally no opinion on Hudson Swafford.
I don't think that this is the best fit for him. His length, I don't think will be a benefit here. He's one where I like him on a long, like the Genesis or something like that, where he can use the length for the advantage. It's not that it will hurt him here, but if they're all in the same boat and it becomes an iron contest, not really for me.
Yep. Good player, Kevin Streelman.
Ooh, yeah. I one of the safer guys in my opinion. Don't mind him in any format. Buy spot for me.
Does he have a little bit of James Hahn in him too, though? Or like whoever, I'm trying to think of like who we were talking about that. Yeah, they're probably going to be all right, but is there tournament winning upside in this fellow? Like if enough carnage happens, like sure, a guy coming in 28th can be on a tournament winning team. But if there isn't a lot of carnage, a guy coming in 28th is not going to help you. If there's what I mean by carnage, for those of you that haven't seen, we're talking like if it's 15% 6-6, 20% 6-6, you're not going to be happy with a guy that finishes in 28th place. If it's 2% 6-6, you're looking pretty nice there.
I get it, but it's still, I mean, we're going to revert back to this is a full field. This is not where you need everybody to go nuclear. And for me, I have some pretty polarizing plays, so I don't mind putting a guy like Streelman in and say, you know what, he can grind through a cut. I feel pretty confident that he gets through, and I'll take where maybe he doesn't get me a ton of placement points, but he doesn't tank the lineup either. And in a week like this, there's not that many guys that I can say I feel good about them getting through.
Okay.
Who else we got? Any more sickos?
Oh, Bether's grandfather was a Hall of Fame GM.
No. That's close enough.
That makes sense of why I had never heard of him. Yeah, exactly. It still works, guys.
Just go with it.
Yeah. Thank you, Melissa Reno. Let's see here. What was it? I mean, I had a question. Oh, Burgoon. How much Burgoon? Are you willing to eat that chalk?
Is that a serious question?
Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good off the tee, and I think that's a pretty good metric to use this week. So certainly have some exposure. The Burgoon chalk will never die. I don't think he's going to be popular, obviously, but
really?
Yeah, shocker, I know. But
he's really good off the tee without being crazy long, which is like that's not that it's better to not be long, but if someone gains a ton of strokes off of the tee and isn't super long, like the Brian Harmons of the world, the Molinaris, then you know that they are dart throwers. So that's helpful here. This is that kind of place. This is an important place. The fairways are pretty narrow, so it's not easy to hit them all, but birdies are going to be out there if you're in the fairway. It's not going to be fun if you're hitting from the rough.
Perfect timing. Someone in chat, what's up, Jeff, just said the same thing, that hitting that fairway it's going to be a big bonus, if for no other reason than it's going to give you the opportunity to really stick them close. It's not like if you're off the fairway, you're dead. It's just more than likely you're hitting it to a spot to have a lag putt to make par. And you do that enough at this place, you're left behind.
Yep. Agree. Okay. There was some Svensson versus
Stent?
Alberts. Svensson
Oh,
versus
those.
Albertson.
For me,
Albertson actually did do really well the last 4 weeks. So they're not like crazy legit results, but they're more like the tournament. So it was saying the coolers brought up that Svensson was sixth at Corrales. Like the tournaments the last 4 weeks are no shit better than like they're stronger levels of competition than the Corrales Punta Cana. As sad as that is, but it's true.
that is sad.
Yep. These are like these tournaments, the end of the web is usually like slightly better than the Puerto Rico. It's like the level of the better European tour events. Like the Scottish Open kind of is a little bit better than this. The BMW PGA is a little better than this, but it's kind of similar.
Anyway, the Albertson guy, I think he has some skill sets that would fit here. Seems, I mean, of course, I've never seen him play, but what I read, pretty good with par fours. A nice combination. He's not super short, but at the same time, he's pretty good off the tee. Hits a lot of greens. So that, the tee to green is going to be important. I know that we could say that every week, but it seems like you can get away with not being the best scrambler at a place like this because you don't have to scramble if you hit a bunch of greens, which is very doable.
Yep. His accuracy and GIR numbers didn't like pop out to me like crazy, which is, it's a fine stand-in when you don't have anything else for approach and off the tee. So I do worry that like he just has been hot with the putter lately a little, but whatever. It's not like it's a bad thing if he's a good putter. No. He's been churning out real finishes. So
he won't be. I mean, he's not going to be popular, but he's another one who is closer to him than like the other name that I've heard is that guy.
So, Albertson.
Yeah, I could see him garnering a handful of percentage points, which I know it doesn't seem like much, but in a 50,000 person tournament, those points are really valuable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the difference between the 8% owned piece of shit Webby and the 2% owned piece of shit Webby, like, that's a big deal. I'm just murdering everyone that's not a professional golfer, man. There's only room. Like, that's what's so annoying about this. Like, there's only room in your brain to, like, deal with so many of them. And there should be 150 golfers. That's all we should have to worry about. But no, there's thousands.
There's a lot. And one of them is Brunson Burgoon, who I do like. We got a couple more, and then we're bouncing out of here. We'll give a hot take.
Ponta's getting into the airplane bottles.
You tell him. Safe travels, brah. Seamus, Jameis, your boy. Not a lot of interest for me. Do you have any, Mr. Power?
No, I like the guy long term, but I'm kind of with you. I don't think length is a big advantage here. That's really what he does well. He hasn't been playing amazingly. There will be buy spots on him, but
yeah, not the spot for him. Long irons, like this just doesn't seem like the right fit.
All these like master crusher dudes, like him and Champ and Hagee, like I'm interested in those guys, but I'm not buying yet. I'm not sure this is where we're going to get into it.
And they will be, of course, at a huge advantage there's 4 par 5s that helps them immensely. They can get to them easily. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you know how it is. And that's where we're at. It's first week. Gonna have to feel it out, but I don't know. Any final thoughts? You want to start off? So what we do on the show for new people, we give our hot take at the end.
You just said we don't have to give. We just talked about how we don't need to give hot takes on everything.
No, but we're not getting off these hot takes. We got to always give one right at the end of the show. Last year, I believe that I was 1 for about 40. I had some bad ones in there, but we're gonna try to right the ship.
Yeah, I smoked you at 4 for 38 or something like that. It was bad.
All right. First hot take of the year.
That said, before we even do that, I will say we've done 2 Awesemo shows where you annihilated
That's
me
right.
with head-to-heads. It was like Spieth versus, you had Spieth to my day in one of them, and it was like a 17-stroke difference. What was the other one? That was really bad too.
Yeah, there was a couple. It was, I don't even remember what the other one was, but
might have been Brooks related. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something. Me being a hater of someone really good, I'm sure. Anyway, I don't really have a hot take here. I got to think of one.
Oh shit, I don't either. I'm stalling.
God.
I think I said that Bryson was really was more live than people thought to DFL at the Tour Championship, and he was dead fucking last for a couple days.
All right, I actually I got one. I will say that, and you'll have to tell me if this is not hot enough. You know, we keep it Dante's peak levels here. I'll say not one web.com player will come in the top 20. One of the graduates.
Son of a bitch. I hope that's not true because I'm unfortunately playing too many of them.
I have to be a pretty big dog there.
I would think so, yeah.
So we're counting mine. Put it on the board as 0 for 1.
Yeah. How many web.com tour graduates are there? So you're talking it's not that many. I guess a lot of the guys I'm playing are like real players that just had to play in the web.
They got their card back. I'm talking about guys who were not on the core, that like the Sun Jimins of the world.
Yeah, people without pictures.
Yeah. So 25.
That's a good one.
Some addition.
I like that. I'm jealous of that.
That's why I went first. Just say.
I'm gonna say Johnson Wagner missed. What?
Sharp. Very sharp.
Dominic Pozzelli keeps the streak going.
I mean, why don't you just pick who you think of all the Webbies has the best finish? Because you've looked at those guys.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with D. McCarthy.
I think that's a hot take because
I think he'll beat the rest of the Webbies. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a dog to do that. That's
course. Yeah, he's all right. So there we go.
All right. D. McCarthy wins the Webbies, but
he comes to 21st, and we both.
But also wins, but isn't from the 7K range. But
hi, Carl. Shout out to Carl Marks. Yeah. So the other thing, real quick, before we drop on off, everyone, we're in Pacific time for this tournament, so you have some time in the morning. Not that there's going to be a withdrawal, but try to pay attention. If you remember, hop into Slack. People will be there if something comes up. Double check because it does happen, and you don't want to if you take a withdrawal, you can close the week down. You have no chance.
Yeah, at least on those lineups, it's not going to be pretty.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. That was a blast as usual. Love these Wednesday night shows. We'll try to keep it spicy. Some crowdsourcing. We'll get some, get some questions going on.
Get the sound.
Yeah, I got to get the sound. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about the soundboard. Oh, there's 50 Webbies, and I just called one. Yeah, that's plenty hot. Then we're in good shape.
Wow.
No top 20 out of 50 out of 140. Oh, right, because some of them are. Yeah.
But there's more than 7, so there you go. Now there's like 30 something, I'm sure.
Yeah. It'll be great. We'll define what these are after I rifle off 27, 28 hockey teams in the next 4 minutes.
Against my African countries.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be great. All right. Thanks, Josh, for producing. Can't wait to get into some dumb prop bets with you in about 10 seconds. Talk to you all tomorrow.